Kunja Bihari Jaya Madhava Jabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Bala Gopi Yashodanandana Bhaja Janarandana Yashodanandana Bhaja Janarandana Yamuna Tira Vanasani Yamuna Tira Vanasani Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jivarakari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jivarakari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Bhaja Janarandana Yashodanandana Bhaja Janarandana Yamuna Tira Vanasani Yamuna Tira Vanasani Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishvāda Paramahansa Pri Vajracharya Jyeshta Tarasata Shishi Mahadeshi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityalila Vishnu Vishnupada Paramahansa Pri Vajracharya Jyeshta Tarasata Shishi Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Prabhupada Shri Vasudev Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Radha Krishna Gopalokana Ramakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Mai Panagrik Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki New Ramriti Dham Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki All glories and devotees, all glories Shri Guru and Gauranga Pramanandai. Chapter 5, verse 40 and 1, 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Tat-kaṭyāṁ cātalaṁ kḻptam ūrubhyāṁ vitalam vibhoḥ jānubhyāṁ sutalaṁ śuddhaṁ jaṅghābhyāṁ tu talātalam mahātalaṁ tu gulphābhyāṁ prapadābhyāṁ rasātalam pātālaṁ pāda-talata iti loka-mayaḥ pumān tat-kaṭyāṁ cātalaṁ kḻptam ūrubhyāṁ vitalam vibhoḥ jānubhyāṁ sutalaṁ śuddhaṁ jaṅghābhyāṁ tu talātalam mahātalaṁ tu gulphābhyāṁ prapadābhyāṁ rasātalam pātālaṁ pāda-talata iti loka-mayaḥ pumān tat-kaṭyāṁ sutalaṁ kḻptam
ūrubhyāṁ vitalam vibhoḥ jānubhyāṁ sutalaṁ śuddhaṁ jaṅghābhyāṁ tu talātalam
mahātalaṁ tu gulphābhyāṁ prapadābhyāṁ rasātalam pātālaṁ pāda-talata iti loka-mayaḥ pumān tat-kaṭyāṁ cātalaṁ kḻptam
ūrubhyāṁ vitalam vibhoḥ jānubhyāṁ sutalaṁ śuddhaṁ jaṅghābhyāṁ tu talātalam mahātalaṁ tu gulphābhyāṁ prapadābhyāṁ rasātalam pātālaṁ pāda-talata iti loka-mayaḥ pumān
tat-kaṭyāṁ cātalaṁ kḻptam
tat-kaṭyāṁ cātalaṁ kḻptam
ūrubhyāṁ vitalam vibhoḥ
ūrubhyāṁ vitalam vibhoḥ
jānubhyāṁ sutalaṁ śuddhaṁ
jānubhyāṁ sutalaṁ śuddhaṁ
jaṅghābhyāṁ tu talātalam
jaṅghābhyāṁ tu talātalam
mahātalaṁ tu gulphābhyāṁ
mahātalaṁ tu gulphābhyāṁ
prapadābhyāṁ rasātalam
prapadābhyāṁ rasātalam
pātālaṁ pāda-talata
pātālaṁ pāda-talata
iti loka-mayaḥ
iti loka-mayaḥ pumān
Tat in his kaṭyāṁ waste, cha also atalam, the first planetary system below the earth,
the first planetary system below the earth
kḻptam,
kḻptam
is that what it says? Yeah, kḻptam. Situated. Ūrubhyāṁ, on the thighs. Vitalam, the second planetary system, below. Vibhoḥ, of the Lord. Jānubhyāṁ, on the ankles. Sutalaṁ, the third planetary system below. Śuddhaṁ, purified. Jaṅghābhyāṁ, on the joints. Two. But talātalam, the fourth planetary system below. mahātalaṁ,
mahātalaṁ,
the fifth planetary system below.
the fifth planetary system.
Two. But gulphābhyāṁ, situated on the calves. Prapadābhyāṁ, on the upper or front portion of the feet. Rasātalam, the sixth planetary system below. Pātālaṁ, the seventh planetary system below. Pāda-talata, on the bottom or soles of the feet. Iti, thus, loka-mayaḥ, full of planetary systems. Pumān, the Lord. My dear son Narada, know from me that there are 7 lower planetary systems out of the total 14. The first planetary system, known as atala, is situated on the waist. Second, vitala, is situated on the thighs. The third, śuddhaṁ, on the knees. Fourth, talātalam, is situated on the shanks. The fifth, mahātalaṁ, on the ankles. The sixth, rasātalam, on the upper portion of the feet. And the seventh, pātālaṁ, on the soles of the feet. Thus, the Virat form of the Lord is full of all planetary systems. So we can read the 42. Before we read the purport, we'll just go over 42 here. All together. Loka-kalpita padhyam bhuva-lokasya nabita svaloka-kalpito murna iti va-loka-kalpanam. Others may divide the whole planetary system into 3 divisions, namely the lower planetary systems on the legs up to the earth, the middle planetary system on the navel, and the upper planetary system, svarloka, from the chest to the head of the Supreme Personality. Purport: the 3 divisions of the complete planetary systems are here mentioned. 14 are imagined by others, and that is also explained. So with purport to 41 and 2. Modern enterprisers, the astronauts who travel in space, may take information from Srimad Bhagavatam that in space there are 14 divisions of planetary systems. The situation is calculated from the earthly planetary system, which is called Loka. Above Loka is Bhuvar, and the topmost planetary system is called Satyaloka. These are the upper 7 lokas, or planetary systems. And similarly, there are 7 lower planetary systems known as atala, vitala, sutala, talatala, mahātala, rasātala, pātālaṁ, lokas. All these planetary systems are scattered over the complete universe, which occupies an area of 2 billion times 2 billion square miles. The modern astronauts can travel only a few thousand miles away from the Earth, therefore their attempt to travel in the sky is something like child's play on the shore of an expansive ocean. The moon is situated on the 3rd status of the upper planetary systems, and the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam we shall be able to know the distant situation of the various planets scattered over the vast material sky. There are innumerable universes beyond the one in which we are put, and all these material universes cover only an insignificant portion of the spiritual sky, which is described above as Sanatana Brahmaloka. The Supreme Lord very kindly invites the intelligent human beings to return home back to Godhead in the following verse of Bhagavad Gita. Brahma bhuvana loka punaravartinarjuna mamupecha tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidhi. Beginning from Satyaloka, the topmost planet of the universe, situated just below the eternal Brahmaloka, as described above, all the planets are material. And one situation in any of the many material planets is still subject to the laws of material nature, namely birth, death, old age, and disease. But one can get complete liberation from all the above-mentioned material pangs when one enters into the eternal Brahmaloka Sanatana atmosphere, the kingdom of God. Therefore, liberation is contemplated by the speculative philosophers and the mystics. As contemplated by the speculative philosophers and the mystics, is possible only when one becomes a devotee of the Lord. Anyone who is not a devotee cannot enter into the kingdom of God. Only by attainment of a service attitude, and a transcendental position can one enter into the kingdom of Godhead. Therefore, the speculative philosophers as well as the mystics must first of all be attracted to the devotional cult before they can factually attain liberation. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri pāda-talataḥ Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri ūrubhyāṁ Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Śuddhaṁ Sadvaitam Savadhutam Padijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Bhagana Lalita Shri Rasātalam. Hey Krishna Kunasindho Dinabandho Savakate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Panchakalpatribhyascha Kripasindhapye Vidyapatitanam Pavanito Vaishnavi. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Śrīvāsadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. So these are the last 3 verses of this chapter. So sometimes it's asked, why are we reading about these material places? Of course, we have to know. In the Ishopanishad, for instance, we hear Sambhutim cha vanasam cha yastad vedo vayam saha. Sambhutam mitam ashnute avidyam mitam tirtva. Somehow or other, it is recommended in Ishopanishad, which is straight Vedic knowledge, all the Upanishads. Prabhupada chose that one Upanishad of 8. Many are quoted even in Prabhupada's book, Mundaka, Svetasvatara, Katu Upanishad. But he chose that Upanishad. And in there is described, one has to know this material world, Sambhutim cha, personality of God or the spiritual world, and vinasham, that which is destroyable, which includes, and he mentions there everything, demigods, men, animals, all the human beings, whatever they do, this material world. Parāvarāvado. It's also said in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, when the sages were addressing Sutta Goswami, that you know para-avara, that which is para, spiritual, material, beyond the material, and the avara, which is the material. And you know all these things, material and spiritual. So we had demonstration of that also in seeing Prabhupada's activities, that he wasn't, there are sadhus who are great devotees, they may be fully absorbed in Krishna, but they don't ever think of anything probably material. But we saw in Prabhupada's pastimes that he was already, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, now Srila Bhaktisiddhanta also, but he didn't act as a householder, so we don't really know, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur had so many children, acted as a judge. Imagine, he's writing the most exalted literature, just like Prabhupada, but even more so, he's a judge, a magistrate, managing, and hearing cases, and all kinds of stuff going on. What was he hearing? Still, that was just his job, and he was super expert at it. So that's Vinasham Sambhutim cha Vinasham cha. So there's not a confusion really that we should, the whole Bhagavatam taken as, in summary, Vairagya Kena. It's meant for Vairagya, isn't it? But what are we renouncing? We should also know that, which we're renouncing. Vairagya Vidya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to, and he's in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yogam Shikshartameka. He's a teacher also. And Nimai Pandit, just see, personality of Godhead, and still he acted as the greatest, you could say the greatest materialist, because what was the aspiration of people in those days? To become a great Jnani. Oh, Nimai Pandit is he's the greatest Jnani, the greatest scholar. So by the time he went to Gaya, somehow he came back, in great ecstasy, didn't know if it was day or night. But still, he had established, so much so that when later on he goes to Benares, to Kasi, and those scholars there, they knew him. They'd heard his name. They knew he was a great Pandit. You're a great Pandit. You studied Vedanta. You're a sannyasi. What is this? You're going with these bhavukas, these sentimentalists. How can we understand it? And he was able to explain. Sometimes the devotees nowadays, more than sometimes, but often we could say, they're becoming big PhDs. And so they're given respect. So sometimes this is a good way of preaching. So Nimai Pandit set that example, but he gave it up. Vairagya vidya nija bhakti yoga, shiksha tameka purusha. Started to explain everything in terms of Krishna. No longer. Then the students were very depressed. He said, well, if you really want to continue your studies, then you could study with so many scholars in Navadvip. And they just closed their books and they said, what do you mean? We studied with you. How will study with someone else after that? No, nobody even comes close. So that's what we see here in this pastimes of Nimai Pandit. Vairagya vidya shiksha tameka purusha parana. He's the supreme person. And he's an instructor. So one should become familiar in the Leela of Ajamil, how the Yamadutas, they tried to take him out. They didn't understand what's going on here. We see these four personalities who are effulgent, just like we have never seen anything like that. And they defeated us. They were able to take Ajamil. So it was explained to them by Yamaraj what the actual fact is. So there, Prabhupada says that when they were able to argue, the Yamadutas had their arguments as well, with pretty good arguments, but they were defeated by the Vishnu Dutas. Prabhupada there says that one should know this philosophy is okay, chanting is okay. We say anyone can chant, simple person. But if you want to know philosophy, if you want to preach, then you should know. So similarly, the Bhagavatam is showing that. Sukadeva is describing and Prabhupada referring here to fifth canto, which is much more expansive, the structure of the universe. And still, what does Sukadeva say? Achintya. Rather, this material world is so expansive. Interesting, practically the last word of this chapter is kalpana, imagination. Others may divide the whole planetary system into only 3 divisions. So you have the 14 divisions. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Nambina kichu nahikoa choda bhuvanamadi. He said, there's nothing else but the holy name. So, okay, talātalam, so many things, sutalaṁ, that we read about that in the 8th canto, Vamana Dev. But still, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving the essence that you want to know. Jivana anicca janahashan. Your life is temporary. This is the essence of knowledge. You simply take to the chanting of Hare Krishna. But still, we're so interested to hear this. And it's again given in more detail by Sanatana Goswami, Bhagavatam. Gopal is going through all these places. Most of these places are described, and the persons there. In the beginning of Bhagavatam, I was again looking at it, and it's like, Sanatana Goswami is so great, is such a great person, and at the same time so humble. How is it possible? He was able to, I was just thinking, why, Mahaprabhu, he spoke with Mahaprabhu. We only get a little bit, but Mahaprabhu probably, we're thinking ecstatically that Mahaprabhu gave him all that they gave him. He gave knowledge to Rupa Goswami and Sanatana. But they were eligible. They had the adhikar to understand Mahaprabhu and to write a book like Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And Purikat Maharaj is describing there to his mother Uttara, and his mother is so amazingly intelligent that she's very concerned that she knows all the different types of bhaktas. And she was thinking that there's so many types of bhaktas, they can't all just go to Vaikuntha. That just wouldn't be right, you know. If they're absorbed in Braj Leela with Krishna, and she's talking about serving Radharani, Radhika Seva there also, right in that first chapter, first few verses. Saying, I'm very concerned that such persons like Adi Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj, and the gopis, how are they in Vaikuntha? That's not possible. So Prakat Maharaj is very enlivened, and that's being recounted by Jaimini, Janamajaya, the grandson. So he goes into all the details, but the questioner is very qualified. When Prabhupada came to the West, there were no such questioners. They had basic questions or something, but still, Prabhupada came and gave all this knowledge. Amazing. Prabhupada talks here in this purport. Like when we chant the Gayatri mantra, Bhava Bhuva Sva, it's a summary, but in that, it's explained by acharyas what it means, Bhava Bhuva Sva. It has different levels of meaning. So sometimes these things are hidden, often they're hidden. It's explained by Sanatana Goswami that we read the Brahma Samhita, we're reading the actual Gayatri mantra, Gopal mantra there. But it's hidden in a way, it's not exactly given exactly right. So Sanatana Goswami explains these things are not always given. Nowadays people go online and they're chanting Gayatri mantra or something. They have no idea what it means, what are the deep levels of the meaning. So it's hidden. Yayatamam prabhajan. The more you surrender, the more you bring your mind. Krishna Chaitanya Doya Koroho Vichara Vichara Kor. The more you consider this mercy of Mahaprabhu, how it's appearing. Kaviraj Goswami says, you'll get something amazing. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Doya, the mercy, when will you give? Parama Karuna, the supreme mercy. It's being given there, but it's inaccessible. Right in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, it will say there, it says that Nirmatsalam Satam. It's a very nice verse, but what is the deep meaning there? One has to become non-envious. When you can read it, you're as a scholar, an academic, you won't get the full meaning if you're envious. So because you're non-envious, Mamu Pecha Puna Janma, Dukkālayam Shashvatam Aptavanti. He was giving him that knowledge. Because you're non-envious of me. Abhyasuyanto. Abhyasuyanto. Paramam. Prabhupada's intimating here in these verses, the Bhagavad Gita, how it's explained that Purusha Saparapartha, that Bhaktya Tvananaya, that if one has Ananya Bhakti, Tvananaya Bhakti, then he can understand. No other way. Bhaktyamam avajanate ma yavanyaschasmita. Tato mam tatato vishate taranam. Then he can enter in, only with his bhakti. So it's a little tricky. So by mundane calculation, you can't, it's like licking the bottle. But still, Bhagavatam is amazing. Scholars read it, impersonalists read it. But here it says that the Sanatana atmosphere, as contemplated by speculative philosophers and mystics, is possible only if they become a devotee. Bhaktya Bhagavatam graham abhuja nachatikaya. This, I think, in 11th canto, Bhaktya Bhagavatam graham. Only under the Bhagavatam and Bhakti are only understood by Bhakti. Bhakti. Bhaktyamam abhijanati avanyas chasmita. So many verses in the Gita describing this. Only by Bhakti. Mana, Savai Mana Krishna Padala Vindai. Oh, the various levels of bhaktas, and Ambarish is one of them, and then they become higher and higher, that you get to the Arjuna platform, Prema Para, Prematara. Those things are described by Sanatana Goswami. So how Parikat's mother was concerned. And then Pushkar took the entire rest of the Brihad Bhagavatam to explain the different levels of the universe and how just by chanting the Gopal mantra, he went throughout the entire universe. This Gopal Kumara was described there. So that's an amazing thing. So Prabhupada's referring here to the 5th canto. We shall be able to know the distant situation of various planets scattered over the vast material sky. The innumerable universe. Yakarna vajale bhajati smayoga nidramananta jagadanda. Roma kupa. This is some of the tattva. So many tattvas are given in this Brahma Samhita. Every morning we're chanting six verses. So Prabhupada's saying in an early lecture that it should be a daily function, that Mahaprabhu taught it to his intimate followers. It should be a daily function. So we didn't hear that it was only 6 slokas, but maybe we should be hearing and chanting the entire Brahma Samhita. Such an important book that Lord Chaitanya discovered this chapter, one chapter. But in that one chapter, so much is there. Vainam kvanam, description of a Galoka Vrindavan. Galoka namani nijadamani talejatash. So there's higher, there's lower. Nija nija bhabe, shreshta korimani. Whatever rasa, whatever spiritual level the devotees are on, that you cannot be in the Vaikuntha world with any level of envy that, they're pleased whatever level they're on. Nijan is sukha, seva sukha, Krishna's father name. He enjoys directly with Krishna. Gopis are also sometimes thinking that these coward boys, this flute, they get so much association. But this is a transcendental ecstatic emotion. It's not envy. No mundane envy is there. Otherwise, Prabhupada said, as long as they are jealous, envious, you have to remain in this material. This is ahankara. I am the doer. Ahankaratmakam vishvam etad vijayata. This whole material world is based on this ahankara. So in your mind, you have to think. I remember Prabhupada saying clearly, as long as you think you're the doer, you're a fool. So the more we can escape, how do we escape from this idea that we're the doer, everything is mine, I, me, mine? We have to bring our mind to the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yata yata gora padara vinde, vinde tabakti, krita punya rasi, tata tatot sarpati hridya kasma. Then naturally within the heart, Prabodhananda Saraswati says, naturally within the heart, you'll get it. Not, Prabhupada sometimes warned and said, of course it's controversial now, but Prabhupada was pretty clear. He said, not all, but some of my godbrothers, they will bewilder you and they will stop the natural flow of bhakti. Others, many people, they want to, yes, we'll offer this, do this. So Prabhupada had his philosophy, strict adherence in line, that this natural flow, hridya kasma, hridopagu yahar padam pade. In the description of Vaikuntha, in previous chapter 2, there was Prabhupada, that verse, but padam padam Vaishnavam ananti tad, that the Vaishnavas, visrijidaratnam, they give up this material world, all the complexities of this material world, and this way. And yaneti yatat ucha sikshava. Whatever is atat, they understand it's not what they want. Yaneti, the Vaishnavas. So every step, padam, Vaishnavam, padam. At every step, one has to be wary of this material world. So to hear these descriptions is not bad, but the ultimate issue is we have to choda bhuvana Choda means the 14 worlds. In these 14 worlds, this is the essence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. Krishna Prema, he's giving out this Krishna Prema Pradayate. Nam vina kichu nahikwa. Nothing else but the holy name. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's realization that he's singing like this. Krishna Bolo, I'm asking you only one thing. Radha Krishna Bolo Bolo. Just worship, just chant. Radha Krishna Bolo Bolo. And Kole Tor Dukana. All your miseries will be finished. You'll be in the spiritual world. When the great person comes, Tirti Korvanti Tirtani, who probably used to come to some place, then everyone was relieved of all anxiety. Tirti Korvanti, because he carries Gadabhata in his heart. Govinda Bishram, because Govinda rests in his heart. He's taking shelter there. It's attractive. So he can put forward this bhakti, propagate everything. Bhakti. Bhaktakaro bhaktido bhakti vedya. Mahaprabhu is only Bhaktakaro. He is the form of bhakti. His body is pure bhakti. Bhaktakaro bhaktido, and he's giving bhakti. Vedya, bhakti vedya. He's only understood by bhakti. Na buddhya na chatikaya, not by just cultivating some buddhi, some knowledge of so many things. Yes, knowledge has to be there, knowledge of bhakti. Na chatikaya, not by argument. Patishtanat, tarko patishtanat. Vedanta Sutra says, beyond any argument. Avanamanasa that spiritual world, the Vanamanasa Gochara, cannot be understood by ordinary words or mundane thinking. So, but these particular verses are dealing with the material world, but we shouldn't think that somehow we have to, we know it, okay, that's it. Okay, so because it's Ram Vijay, then we'll read this few verses from 9th canto, where the very, of course, the whole Ramayana is just in summary anyway, but here in chapter 10, where we get to the defeat of this Ravana. Let's see. Rakshapati sabala nashtima veksharushta ūrubhyāṁ kamata bishasara brahmam svasyandane dyumati matilenopanite vibrajamana mahan ahanan nishitaikshara prai. Thereafter, when Ravana, the king of the Rakshasas, observed that his soldiers had been lost, he was extremely angry. Extremely angry. Thus, he mounted his airplane, which was decorated with flowers, and proceeded toward Lord Ramchandra, who sat on the effulgent chariot brought by Matali, the chariot driver of Indra. Then Ravana struck Lord Ramachandra with a sharp arrow. All that's in this one verse. That's Sanskrit language for you. Ramastamaha purushara parishayanna kanta samaksham asatapahrita savate takta trapasya paramadya jugupsitasya yachami kala iva kartura langya virya. Rama. First two words is Ramas Tam. Tam means Ravana. So you have Ram and Ravana right there in the beginning of this verse. Lord Ramachandra said to Ravana, you are, what did he tell him? The most abominable of the man-eaters. Indeed, you are like their stool. Woo. Okay, that's You are like their stool. You resemble a dog. 4. As a dog steals eatables from the kitchen in the absence of the householder, in my absence you kidnap my wife, Sita Devi. Therefore, as Yamaraj punishes sinful men, I shall also punish you. You are most abominable, sinful, and shameless. Today, therefore, I, whose attempt never fails, shall punish you. So, let's read this purport. Nacha daivat parambalam. This is actually a quote from, I think, Chanakya Pandit. No one can surpass the strength of the transcendence. Ravana was so sinful and shameless, he did not know what the result would be of kidnapping Mother Sita, the pleasure potency of Ramchandra. This is a disqualification of the Rakshasas. Asatyam apatishtam te jagadaholanishvaram. The Rakshasas are unaware that the Supreme Lord is the ruler of the creation. They think that everything has come about by chance or accident and that there is no ruler or king or controller. Therefore, the Rakshasas act independently as they like, going even so far as to kidnap the goddess of fortune. This policy of Ravana's is extremely dangerous for the materialist. Indeed, it brings ruin to the materialist civilization. I just saw one purport where Prabhupada was saying that, I think it was second canto, and he said, material philosophy, material science ending in nuclear destruction. He's saying that like there's only one way that we're going to go on the material world, and we're seeing like what are they threatening now, right? Putin every day he's saying, okay, you guys are going to blow everybody up. And of course, it's insane because as soon as he does that, they'll nuke his whole country. So he doesn't care. He's so insane. So insane. They used to have something called MAD, still mutually assured destruction, but that's increased. Super mad. Madak unmada, pramatam unmatam. So there's matam, which means mad, and then there's more mad, and then super mad. So he's super mad now. He's really mad. Very mad. Just like Ravana was really mad, you know. Rather than give Sita back, he'd rather just destroy everything. No problem. No problem. Oh, it's completely insane. Okay, this is what we have. This is disqualification of Rakshasas. Okay, it brings ruin to the materialist civilization. Right there, Prabhupada says. Nevertheless, because atheists are Rakshasas, they dare to do things that are most abominable. And thus, they are punished without fail. Religion consists of the orders. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat panitam. You read that, that's all conversation between the Yamaraj. And that's what it says here. One who fails to carry out the Lord's orders is irreligious. Hiya dharmas tad-vipāya. Anything that is not dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat panitam, the instruction of Krishna, which is dharma, it is viparyam, just the opposite. Adharma. Adharma shilasya sudukitasya. When there is adharma, there's sudukitasya. Adharma shilasya sudukitasya. There's not only duki, suduki, a lot of duki, more miserable, increasing more and more. Evang shipam danushi shanditam utsasarja banam savajjamiva tad-hridayam bibeda sosrigbamam dashamukanyapatad vimana dhahiti jalpati jane sukriti varikto. After thus rebuking Ravana, Lord Ramchandra fixed an arrow to his bow, aimed at Ravana, and released the arrow, which pierced Ravana's heart. It says here, tad-hridayam bibeda. Banam. Banam is the arrow. Vajramiva, like a thunderbolt. Tad-hridayam, the heart. Bibeda, pierced. Very nice. he fixed the arrow, aimed at Ravana, and released the arrow, which pierced his heart like a thunderbolt. Upon seeing this, Ravana's followers raised a tumultuous sound, crying, "Alas, alas!" What does it say here? What was the Sanskrit for this? I don't see. Alas, alas, what happened? What happened? As Ravana, vomiting blood from his 10 mouths, fell from his airplane, just as a pious man falls to earth from the heavenly planets when the results of his pious activities are exhausted. Vibhoḥ samapā pūtapāpā yagya ishva svargatim prap. Punya masaja surrender lokam is he goes to the higher, and then when it's finished he comes down again. Trilokyamam samapā pūtapāpā yagya. And he falls down again. Vishanti comes down again, up and down. But we're not talking about persons going to heaven. We're talking about just an analogy here. Purport. In the Gita it is said, Kshine punya martalagam vishanti. When the results of the pious activities are exhausted, those who have enjoyed in the heavenly planets, they fall to earth. So Prabhupada talks about that, but we'll just keep reading this. Thereafter, all the women whose husbands had fallen in the battlefield, headed by Mandodari, the wife of Ravana, came out of Lanka. Continuously crying, they approached the dead bodies of Ravana and the other Rakshasas. Svansan bandun parisvadya lakshmane shubir arditan rurudu sushvaram dina ganantya atmanam atmana. Atmanam refers to their chest or breast, that they were beating atmana, atmanam atma. Nantya, striking their, they were quite upset. Striking their breasts in affliction because the husbands had been killed by the arrows of Lakshman. The women embraced their respective husbands. They cried piteously in voices appealing to everyone. It says here, susvaran, it was sweet to hear. Rurudu sushvaram dina, they were very poor. Ha, hata, sma, bayam nata, loka ravana ravana, loka ravana ravana. Verse 26. Can't beat Bhagavatam. Kam yayat sharanam lanka, tradhina paradita. This means loka ravana ravana. O husband who created the crying of so many other people. O Ravana who can cause crying of others. O my Lord, Master, you epitomize trouble for others. Therefore you are called Ravana. But now that you have been defeated, we are also defeated, for without you the state of Lanka has been conquered by the enemy. To whom will it go for shelter? Ravana's wife Mandodari and the other wives knew very well how cruel a person Ravana was. The very word Ravana means one who causes crying for others. Ravana continuously caused trouble for others, but when his sinful activities culminated in giving trouble to Sita Devi, he was killed by Lord Ramchandra. Navai Veda Mahabhaga Bhavan Kama Vashangata Tejonubhavam Sitaya Yena Nito Dasamima. O greatly fortunate one, you came under the influence of lusty desire. Therefore you could not understand the influence of Mother Sita. Now, because of her curse, you have been reduced to this state, having been killed by Lord Ramchandra. So they're calling him Mahabhaga. But you didn't know. You didn't know that you were Mahabhaga. You got the mercy of Lord Ram. Purport. Not only was Mother Sita powerful, but any woman who follows in the footsteps of Mother Sita can also become similarly powerful. There are many instances of this in the history of Vedic literature. Whenever we find a description of ideal chaste woman, Mother Sita is among them. Mandodari, the wife of Ravana, was also very chaste. Similarly, Draupadi was one of 5 exalted chaste women. As a man must follow great personalities like Brahma and Narada, a woman must follow the path of such ideal women as Sita, Mandodari, and Draupadi. By staying chaste and faithful to her husband, a woman enriches herself with supernatural power. It is a moral principle that one should not be influenced by lusty desire for another's wife. Matravat padadarishu, an intelligent person must look upon another's wife as being like his mother. This is a moral injunction of Chanakya. Thus, Ravana was condemned not only by Lord Ramchandra, but even by his own wife, Mandodari, because she was a chaste woman. She knew the power of another chaste woman, especially such a wife as Sita Devi. Okay. Are there any comments, questions?
The wife of Ravana, what's her name?
Mandodari.
Mandodari. So she's considered one of the most chaste women, but at the same time in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada will say if someone's, husband isn't following, that they don't have to follow them. So it seems like what's the most chaste? She's chaste to Ravana, but he's...
Well, Gandhari didn't go around, plotting to kill the Pandavas, even though her husband did, but she's considered one of them chaste, She even blindfolded herself. So Mandodari wasn't scheming, wasn't doing the same activities, she was just hanging in.
Mm-hmm. Also, I was going to ask what did you mean? Were you talking about probably like the natural flow?
The natural flow?
Yeah.
Well, because you can't take that out of context. You have to read the whole Shastra for that. So natural flow, and the first thing that comes to my mind is like one of Shukadev's prayers, especially Gatavilika Yashankaradibi. Ajash and Shankara, that's Brahma and Shiva, they're considered Gataviliki Vyalikaya, means that they're not pretentious. They just, don't jump ahead over the horse to eat the grass. And that's another little Bengali quip, gas kave or something. That, let me just take up this artificially some position as Sahajya. That Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was describing that to Rabindranath Tagore. We just read that online. This nice pastime where he was telling that he wanted to go to the West and preach. And where did he think would be, how he asked his advice actually, he was a very respectable person. And he opined to Bhaktisiddhanta that I think that in West, that Indian sadhus have gone there and they've spoiled the name of India. He knew that, even though, I'm not sure if he went himself, but he knew that. So he advised that, I think it's not, now it's not advisable now because it's, so Bhaktisiddhanta said, no, my men can still go there. Well, first Rabindranath Tagore said that only if you go. After meeting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he was so impressed, he said, if you go, maybe you go. And he said, no, I don't have to go, but my men will go, they're as good as me. So his initial men, we don't know if they were as good as him, but we know Prabhupada was as good. Anyway. But in that conversation, he was describing Prakriti Sahajya, but so that Tagore said, I never heard this, what's this term? I mean, he's a Bengali, so he knows the words, Prakriti and Sahaj, but he doesn't quite understand, what are you saying here? He said, well, this term, and he described, yes, Sahajya is a great term, of pure devotees are known as Sahajya, but when you're Prakriti Sahajya, it's like an oxymoron. You cannot be materialistic and be natural. Actually, this word Sahaj means natural, to be naturally in a certain level of Krishna consciousness. They're natural, in the spiritual world, they're very natural. This word Sahaj means natural. So, but Prakriti Sahajya, this word, that's a complete self-contradiction. That's saying he's a very rich, poor man. Like Bill Gates, I saw him in the street being beaten by the cops. No, he's not in the street being beaten by cops, with his living out of a cardboard box. So if you're actually sahaj, naturally very pure and very elevated person, you won't be prakrita, materialistic. So Bhaktisiddhanta had a way with words. Had this terminology. Apparently he coined it.
You mentioned you're reading from one of the verses, Ram's pastimes about Mandodari and the wives crying. So you mentioned like an oxymoron kind of thing that was in the verse itself about how the
sweet.
crying was very sweet. Yeah, I thought that was pretty.
The word meaning does say sweet, like where were you? 10.
And it also brought compassion from.
Yeah, it says. In 10, where are we? 20 something. Let me find it again. He was extremely angry, striking their breast. This is 25. 10:25. Swan. This is, yeah. Maybe it's the next one. Yeah, but basically, I see. Mahabhaga. No, here we go. Who is beating?
Who would it be pleasing to?
I know. Yeah, it's pretty funny, right? I wouldn't be able to figure that out, but maybe Ramchandra is very merciful. You know, women crying, maybe it sounds sweet. Screaming.
Excuse me. Yeah, I thought it was in like
Atmanam. Yeah, Gnantya Atmanama, here it is. It's definitely 25, where it says Rurudu Susvaram. Now, svara means singing, voice. And it says, literally, susvaram, it was very sweet to hear. Prabhupada's not making it up. But it also says dina, very poor. At the same time, it was very poor. They're crying, you know. So, yeah, I wasn't there, so I'm off the hook on that. I know it sounds pretty horrific when you hear women crying and screaming, you know. I mean, when Srivasa's wife and the others was crying because the boy had left his body, he said, quiet down, you know, Mahaprabhu's having his kirtan, you guys can't upset the kirtan. His own son had died. But, voice is vachas cha shravanamrita, right? When Kasyapa Muni is describing women, he says, sarat padmotsavam. Anyway, there's several places in the third canto especially where Prabhupada said women generally can sing nicely and their voices are sweet, but if you examine their hearts are like razor blade. That's Kasyapa Muni said that also. Just thought I'd throw that in for fun. But what? Not the Bodhi ones. Of course not. That's a base level understanding. So as far as them, maybe it doesn't always sound sweet, but in this particular case, right?
Correct.
Who has the mic?
Here I have it. Let's see. Oh, you mentioned Ananya Bhakti. What is Ananya?
Anya means another thing, and Ananya, Anya Bilashita Shunyam, when other things are shunya, besides pure bhakti, and Abilashita, Abilash means other desires. Anya Bilashita Shunyam, Jnana, what are those things? Jnana and karma, when they're zero.
Okay.
This is a definition of bhakti by Rupa Goswami. Nyabhirashita Shanyam, Jnana Karma Anavitam means uncovered. Anukuyena should be favorable like that. So Ananya means no other. There's nothing else but bhakti. Anya always means another.
Okay.
other.
And do you know what scripture Bhaktivinoda Thakur stated? There's nothing more to be had in all the 14 worlds but the holy name. But what scripture?
Udilo aruna purava. It's the last line.
Oh, it is? Okay. What song?
Anything else?
Yeah, I'm just curious about this chastity of the wife. How it seems...
Not really anybody's wife, so don't worry about it.
Right. If you want a little further on that, you would read the prayers in 5th canto, I think, chapter, where Rama is talking, praising that, and telling all women that who think that their husband is their actual husband. No, Krishna is the only protector. What chapter is that in 5th canto? Is it 16 or 20? Anyway.
Yet still.
An illusion that this assemblage, and Rukmini also talks about that in the 10th canto, the body with the mustache, decorated with mustaches, is simply a pile of stool.
But still, Srila Prabhupada advised that we follow the example of these chaste women. So as Sukadeva
yeah, but that's like, there's different levels, right? There's different levels. Prabhupada told some of those single women who didn't want, they said, it's okay, you marry Krishna, right? But, so generally he said, all women should marry. Women should marry, that's their dharma, Sri dharma. So, but there are rare cases where women are very advanced and they don't even marry. So that's rare, but it still exists. Even Mirabai, right? She was...
But even said the chastity of those women, said they received supernatural power.
Right, they had supernatural power. Maybe that's why it was so sweet, because they were so devoted, even to these demoniac men, rakshasas, not even ordinary men. What?
The Swedes of the army of Ramchandra, they were the only ones left, they were victorious.
Yeah. Oh, like, what was I just thinking? When the whole story of not Pururava, that's another thing. Puranjana in the 4th canto, the analogy is constantly, there's different analogies given, and one of the main ones is that the mind is like the wife, and the chastity of the disciple to the guru. So, but the husband is supposed to be like the guru, he's supposed to be a spiritual person, but they're even there. And probably talked about his sister, how the Pishima, his sister, Jagatarini, her name is actually, Bhavatarini, that she was devoted to her husband so much so that even she cooked fish for him, and he was probably said debauch number 1. You know, he was most of the time out, gone. He wasn't even home. But if someone would come there then and say, "Oh, where's your husband?" She would say, "Oh, he's just gone out. He's coming back just in a little while now." And Prabhupada said after a while he did come back because she was so chaste. He gave different examples of chaste women.
But like Bhavatarini's, she was like really advanced, and this is a symptom of her advancement. It wasn't like, oh, because I'm chaste to this, this thing I'm not going to say in front of the deities, therefore I'm advanced. Therefore I must be a good devotee. I mean, she was a very advanced devotee, and it was an expression of her consciousness. Well, I married this guy, I'm just trying to make the best of it. This is, there's reasons why I'm doing this, and it's in my interest to deal with it in this way. She wasn't like, I don't know what else to do. I can't go to the bar or something, find somebody else. I mean, it really made a lot of sense to her to do that in an intelligent way. It seems to me. It was,
Okay.
It wasn't like she's just walking through it like blindly. She's, based on what you're saying,
She
well
chanted.
aware.
Let's just say she was initiated by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. That's one good thing, right?
Well, that's a positive. I would say that's
She
a
got
positive.
Nam initiation, Nam
That's very
Diksha.
good.
So she's not an ordinary.
No, but that's part of the example. It wasn't like she was just blindly, my husband's an alcoholic derelict, but I'm supposed to be chaste, so I'll do it. there's a lot
Okay,
of depth
all right.
there.
We understand that you understand her mentality. That's good.
No, I don't, but I understand that there's probably a lot of things going on in her mentality I don't understand, and a few sound bites I can.
Well, yeah, okay. So anything else?
And Mandori.
Hey, I'm not done yet. Wait a
Microphone.
Mandori should have was somewhat exalted for being able to recognize Sita and advise her husband, don't do it.
Yes, that's true. Get the mic. Say it again.
Mandodari must be somewhat advanced to be able to identify Sita Devi as such a exalted goddess that she would advise her husband not to do what he's doing.
Right.
So
she's calling him Mahabhaga. You're the most fortunate because you got killed by Ramchandra.
Oh yeah, so she's a devotee.
Haribol. Okay.
Hey, we're stretching them now. We're stretching them. So be careful.
Second can of what? Oh, is it in this book? No, it's the first. I don't have it here. Oh, it is this book. Where is it? Second canon. So does it say anything different than what we just? All right. Okay. Haribol, say something.
Thank you so much, Sitavi Prabhu. I really appreciated your point. And I think it's really profound because her association was so powerful as a chaste wife, obviously very advanced. She changed her husband. So the power of her association transformed him.
Prabhupada said that, but I mean, we don't hear that he became like a pure devotee or something, but I mean, we don't know exactly what happened with that guy. So. Huh?
So Prabhupada noted in that regard with Pishima her quality of tolerance, and that's a quality of chastity. Chastity is tolerance and shyness. Prabhupada points out many examples of shyness. Those.
He talks about the sweeper lady, and then she won't even go between him and his friend who were speaking. Yeah.
I always wondered what chastity,
He talked about that one lady who used to take her husband out for begging, and somehow or other he had some accident where his whole face was gone. He had no eyes on his face. It was just a blob, basically. And every day Prabhupada she would dress him neatly and bring him out, and they would beg.
Yeah.
Still, she didn't leave him. Maybe she did that to him. No, okay.
Chastity equals shyness and tolerance. From Prabhupada's examples.
Okay, so are we done? Haribol, thank you very much. Right.